Hello, welcome. State. This is MBN TV Mega News at 6, coming to you live from our 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate, Nungwa Adugano. My name is El Samuels. First, the headlines.
Prosecute chiefs selling lands in waterways, Gamanche. In business, no IMF bailouts needed in foreseeable future at Tufosin. And on the international front, evacuation of Guineans from South Africa unnecessary, Julius Malema.
Details of the stories and more coming up in the next 20 minutes of your time. And also the news is also live on our social media handles on MBN 360. Now let's settle for the stories. The Gamanche King Taki Teko Chulu II has called for the arrest and prosecution of chiefs allegedly involved in the sale of lands along waterways and other flood-prone areas.
He made the call on Thursday, May 28, during a tour of flood-hit communities following the spillage of the Wager Dam, which has left several homes and shops submerged and forced residents to evacuate their belongings. Speaking to journalists, the Gamanche said some traditional leaders are contributing to the recurring flooding problem by allocating lands designated as waterways and green belts for private development. He stressed that such actions must not go unpunished. Chiefs who are selling lands in flood-prone areas and places that are supposed to remain green areas must be held accountable. He said King Taki Teko Chulu II also called for strict enforcement of building regulations and environmental bylaws to prevent future flooding disasters in affected communities. While acknowledging the hardship that may come with demolition structures erected in unauthorized areas, he insisted that enforcement was necessary to protect lives and property. We believe that everything is on course. What we are asking is that government agencies, the regional minister, and the MMDAs enforce the bylaws. Nobody should be allowed to build in waterways. If it is wrong, it is wrong, and we have to deal with it, he said. Demolitions are painful, and I sympathize with those affected, but we will have to enforce the laws because these situations continue to cause loss of life, he added. Meanwhile, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, says evacuation processes have commenced to move affected residents to safe havens.
We believe that everything is on course. What we are asking is that government agencies and then also the regional minister and the MMDAs enforce the bylaws. Nobody should be allowed to build in the waterway. If it's wrong, it's wrong. We have to get to it. Demolition of these things. And it's important today that our bylaws are enforced.
Two persons have died in a fatal accident involving a tipper truck at Senchi in the Eshujaman district of the Eastern region.
The incident occurred on Thursday, May 28, near the Senchi Market area, when a tipper truck with registration number GR2135-22 reportedly overturned under unclear circumstances. A joint police and fire service rescue team, which was first at the scene, confirmed that two occupants of the vehicle died on the spot. The accident caused a major traffic buildup along the stretch for several hours. However, police have since cleared the scene, restoring normal vehicular movement. Police have begun investigations into the crash to determine what led to the incident. Meanwhile, efforts are underway to identify the deceased. Their bodies have been deposited at the morgue for preservation and further investigation.
The President, John Dramani Mahama, has assured businesses and investors that Ghana's recent economic stability will be sustained.
Speaking at the 10th Ghana CEO Summit in Accra on Thursday, May 28, President Mahama said the government remains committed to maintaining fiscal discipline and strengthening confidence in the economy through a new agreement with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. According to him, the Policy Coordination Instrument, PCI, which will run for 36 months following the completion of the current Extended Credit Facility ECF program, is aimed at preserving policy credibility and supporting long-term economic growth. This decision was taken to maintain policy credibility and fiscal discipline over the next 36 months, thereby supporting economic stability and sustainable developments, he said. President Mahama stressed that the current signs of economic improvement are not temporary, assuring the business community that government policies are designed to ensure long-term stability. Captains of industry and businesses can therefore rest assured that the current stability we are enjoying is not a fluke. It will be sustained into the future, he added.
Away from the story, now we move straight to the business desk, where Finance Minister Dr. Kesselatu Forson says Ghana does not expect to return to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, for another financial bailout in the foreseeable future.
He explained that the country has moved from being a recipient of emergency financial support to a more equal policy partner with the IMF. Addressing Parliament on Thursday, May 28, he said President John Dramani Mahama believes Ghana should not need another bailout again after what would be the country's 17th IMF program. It is my hope that this will be the very last time we ever go for an IMF bailout program. He quoted the president as saying, adding, I repeat, no further IMF financial bailout is currently required in the foreseeable future. Dr. Forson reiterated that Ghana has successfully completed the final review of its current IMF-supported program, pending approval by the IMF Executive Board. He said the country will now transition from the Extended Credit Facility program to a policy coordination instrument, which does not provide funding but focuses on reforms, monitoring, and policy guidance. According to him, this new arrangement signals that Ghana no longer needs IMF financial support but will continue working with the fund on reforms and economic oversight. We have evolved from the position of applicant to one of a partner with the International Monetary Fund, he told Parliament. Dr. Forson stressed that the recent economic progress is the result of strict fiscal discipline and reforms introduced to stabilize the economy and restore confidence.
Ordinary Ghanaians bore the heaviest burden of that crisis. The consequences were felt across households, businesses, and institutions through rapid depreciation of the currency, runaway inflation of more than 50%, massive erosion of disposable incomes and savings, painful haircuts on domestic bondholders, including pensioners, punitive interest rates that constrain private sector activity, the imposition of nuisance taxes, including e-levy, betting tax, COVID-19 levy, and emission tax. Speaker, we witnessed job losses, business distress, and weakened investor confidence, and a sharp rise in poverty and economic insecurity. Right, Honorable Speaker, in the midst of all these hardships imposed on the people of Ghana, the government of the day then remained bloated, purposefully inefficient, and riddled with waste. So, Speaker, by December 2024, those responsible proceeded to undermine the very IMF program they themselves had signed to correct the mess that was imposed on the people of Ghana, missing targets and commitment under the IMF program. That was the debt of the crisis that we inherited. Mr. Speaker, it is important to recount this, to dwell on the past, not to dwell on the past, but to remind ourselves of the heavy price of fiscal indiscipline and economic recklessness, and to affirm our collective resolve that Ghana must never again return to that path. So, Speaker, let me take that again. It's important to recount that it's important for us to recount, not to dwell on the past, but to remind ourselves of the heavy price of fiscal indiscipline and economic recklessness, and to affirm our collective resolve that Ghana must never return to that path. Right, Honorable Speaker, some painful experiences cannot be taught. They must be lived to be understood. But once experienced, never again should they be repeated. The Speaker, never again should the people of Ghana be made to go through such horrible experiences.
Now to the international front, where South African economic freedom fighter leader Julius Malema has criticized Ghana's decision to evacuate its citizens from South Africa following the reported xenophobic incident, arguing that the move was unnecessary and undermines diplomatic efforts between the two countries.
Speaking in an interview with SABC News on Thursday, May 28, Malema said Ghana's response risked escalating tensions and created a misleading impression that xenophobic attacks reflect the wider South African society rather than isolated actions by a small group of individuals. Malema argued that while the concerns of affected foreign nationals were understandable, Ghana should have allowed more time for closer diplomatic engagement and for South African authorities to fully address the reported incidents. The Ghana response was not necessary because it now creates an impression that we are all like that, when it's a certain section of our society that needs to be contained by law enforcement. The President of Ghana should have given us some time to really deal with this matter, and we will get to the bottom of it. We need to pursue the diplomatic engagements with Ghana until we find one another. We don't think Ghana responded in a manner that really reinforces dialogue and diplomatic engagements. It actually creates a very bad, extreme situation, which is not. It's a select few, and we are pursuing and persuading the government to still act on those few, he said. He added that Guinean nationals who still feel unsafe, particularly those with valid documentation, should seek protection from South African police services, noting that support structures were available to assist them.
Because Ghanaians are gone now, 300 of them. How many 300 of jobs were created after the Ghanaians have left? So it's just a myth, it's a lie, which they are using to further divide us, to perpetuate colonial divisions that were created in the past. And you say, no, I hate colonialism, I want to say a student in fees must fall, we must decolonize education, we must decolonize this, must decolonize that, but the borders must remain. The borders are actually the most practical thing that was brought about by colonialism. And you can't say you are against colonialism, but you support the borders. It's never consistent. The Ghana response was not necessary because it now creates an impression that we are all like that, when it is a certain section of our society that needs to be contained by law enforcement. And one Ghanaian lady was saying, you see, the problem is, and I wouldn't have taken this option, the problem is we've been beaten in front of the police and the police are not doing anything. That's the problem. And when this opportunity came for me to leave, I left, because if the police can't defend me, it means the state is in agreement with the people who are beating me. So we think it was too quick. We will still resolve this, and the President of Ghana should have given us, some time to really deal with this matter, and we'll get to the bottom of it. We hope they will come back to their senses. We don't have to respond the same way they did. We need to pursue the diplomatic engagements with Ghana until we find one another. We don't think Ghana responded in a manner that really reinforces dialogue and diplomatic.
And as the voice of Julius Malema, the freedom fighter leader in South Africa. And that brings us to the end of this morning's Mega News Essays, where we take a second look at the top headlines.
Prosecute chiefs selling lands in waterways, Gamanche. In business, no IMF bailouts needed in foreseeable future at Tufosen. And on the international front, evacuation of Guineans from South Africa unnecessary, Julius Malema.
And as I will wrap up this morning's news at 6, but for more news, log on to MBN 360. The news was also live across all our social media handles. My name is El Samuels. Coming up is a sports update.